Well, the devastation is being compared to that of Hurricane Katrina. Homeland Security is warning that FEMA does not have enough funds to help, and distressed North Carolina residents are reportedly being forced, listen to this, to fend for themselves, relying on homegrown rescue efforts.
We're not getting the amount of support that we need.
We haven't seen FEMA, we haven't seen Red Cross, we haven't seen Hearts with Hands, we've seen no agencies come through here. Most people drive through with their cameras out, filming us like we're animals in a zoo, and don't stop.
It's too late. I mean, they took too long. It took them 5 days to get here. It's disgraceful. They keep saying we the people. No, there is no we the people. It's them versus us.
Them versus us, powerful words. And as Americans cry out for federal assistance, they are desperate. President Biden sees his administration's handling of the storm in a completely different way.
What do the states in the storm zone need, Mr. President?
Okay.
What do the states in the storm zone, what do they need after what you saw today?
Oh, in the storm zone?
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering what storm you're talking about. They're getting everything they need. And they're very happy across the board. So we just got to, I'm going to have to go back to the Congress and get some more money for it.
It was a little hard to hear with the chopper there, but he's returning from the storm zone and literally says, "Oh, the storm zone." And his words were, "I didn't know what storm you were talking about." Professor John Yoo, the storm to which we refer is the second deadliest hurricane in the U.S. mainland in 55 years. And that is the leadership we get?
Kaylee, first, thanks for having me back, guys. I didn't know you were going to have me back.
We love
Thanks
having you.
So, look, this is a failure of presidential leadership. If you have people still dying several days after the storm, you have supplies that can't get into critical areas, you have accounts of private helicopters and planes flying in to rescue people. And the reason I say that is the founders created a presidency so that one person could act in the moment of crisis with speed and decision and activity and energy. And also so the American people could hold the government accountable, could hold that one person accountable. It pains me to say this, but when you see that video of President Biden, do we really think that he's in charge? Shouldn't he be in the storm zone and kicking butt to get people moving and things moving into the area for disaster relief? Have they spread responsibility around so that we, the American people, can't tell who's in charge and how to hold them responsible for failures in the disaster relief?
Yeah, they need to act with alacrity, with resolve, and in a wholesome manner. And I do want to play this from Governor Kemp. A lot of people have been making something of Governor Kemp and his discourse with the federal government, but they've ignored this component. Here is Kemp on Biden in this moment.
When the first emergency declarations came down, there was only 11 counties in that. A lot of people were outraged, including me, because there was such devastation in up to 90 counties. So we called the White House. We spoke to the president's chief of staff, the FEMA administrator, and said, "Look, you're sending the signal that you're not paying attention to some of these rural communities."
Kennedy, why is the governor of Georgia having to call the White House, asking why rural communities are not included in disaster declaration relief from FEMA? He had to call and plead for rural communities.
I mean, this is deadly. This is heartbreaking. And to John's point, you bring up the word crisis. That is what the federal government is supposed to do. They are supposed to respond in a crisis. These are the moments where you need to make sure that you have infrastructure, that you've got bureaucracies that are communicating with each other to deliver aid in the moment, not later on when there's chin scratching. People don't want politicization right now, but what they're dealing with is an administration that can only create crises. They can't respond to them. And you look back at the hug that New Jersey Governor Chris Christie gave Barack Obama in 2012 during Hurricane Sandy, and that was his political undoing. You look at the response to Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and that was, a harsh light that George W. Bush was painted in for his presidency. I don't know if Kamala Harris will ever ascend to the presidency because of the response of her administration. And right now, we don't have a president. All you have to do is look at his response to the press queries, and you know he's not all there. Someone needs to be there. It has to be her. She doesn't have to suspend her campaign like John McCain did in 2008, but she absolutely has to do more than read from a piece of paper. If she's not going to answer questions, then she has to answer with action, and she is not doing that. Shame on her, because this shouldn't be about politics right now.
Or at least show up at FEMA. My God, the hurricane happened Thursday. Yes, she was visiting the border Friday. You could have gone Saturday morning and visited FEMA and shown your face and read from your paper on Saturday morning. But she didn't do that, Emily. Something else that wasn't done. FEMA was not prepared, and we were lied to as a country. This is really important. Mayorkas said this in June. FEMA is tremendously prepared. This is what we do. This is what they do. The key here is to make sure that the communities that are potentially impacted are prepared as well. He was talking about hurricane response. That was in June. He said we were prepared. Here he is 3 days ago.
We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
So FEMA was prepared in June. Then he admits they were not prepared. And then we find out the reason why. We'll put it up, Emily. And this was FEMA. Almost $1 billion went to illegal immigrants and migrant shelters.
This statistic is absolutely horrifying, but it pales in comparison to the horror that these Americans are suffering. And everyone that I have heard from, the incredible patriots of Save Our Allies, the United States Veterans Corps, all of those amazing Americans with the boots on ground doing all they can to help these Americans, what they say is that this doesn't do the devastation justice. That right now they are still in recovery mode, God willing that there will be more recoveries made, but that soon to follow will be a much higher death count. That because of the inaccessible Americans that are in devastated, that separated by waters, that there are many yet to be determined, and that there are many requests for hundreds of body bags by representatives of counties and local municipalities there that have yet to be filled. And so we do not even know yet the extent of the devastation. But what we do know is that the federal government wasted the taxpayer money that these Americans invested. This is their insurance. FEMA's funds are their funds that they paid into, that they are now being withheld from to pay for illegal migrants. And we saw that coming down the pike when we reported on emergency budgets that had already been blown through 1 month into the fiscal year. Our Americans have been suffering and dying at the hands of this federal government, and now we are watching it unfold by day. The fact that this administration has gone deaf to the pleas of the Americans is so disheartening. And when things hit the fan and you call who you need to depend on in crisis, this is illustrating who you do not call, which is this federal administration. They have their woke policies and their talking points, but when Americans needed them, they have been absent, and they will continue to be absent.
Yeah. This is their 3 a.m. call, and it's happening 24 hours a day. And I don't know how they don't pick up the phone at this point. And look, the president saying, I don't know which storm you're talking about. Who does he think is happy with what they're providing? That reporter needed to say, well, you think people are happy with what you're doing? Who have you talked to who says they're happy?
That's right.
Yeah, I think we know who's happy. He's happy because he's done what he needed to do, not the most, the least, to make this move over off the front page, so he hopes, but it's not going anywhere. So damage control announcement from the White House about an hour and 20 minutes ago. $45 million more will go to the 6 states. $45 million, $17 million are going on top of what they've spent. They put 150 generators in North Carolina. 150 generators? We have more than that in my tiny town of Edgewater's one neighborhood. Like, everybody's got a generator. We live on the Hudson. Like, come on. These people need more help than the money you have left over for what you gave or didn't give to people who don't belong in this country. If you have to take some from here, from there, New York spent north of $6 billion in this year on illegal immigrants and others who've tried to now take up more housing than other people have who are citizens. Chicago's shutting down shelters. I don't know where they're going to put the illegal immigrants that were there, but they know they're in trouble economically. $45 million is a drop in the bucket. It's an insult. And for him not to know which storm the reporter was talking about when he was talking about the one he had just left the storm recovery zone for, we don't have a president right now.
Yeah. And it's very simple. You just look at this in terms of human behavior. When you care about someone or you love someone, you show up, you give resources, you come to them in a time of tragedy. You don't wait 4 days to go to FEMA. You don't stay at a fundraiser. You don't stay at the beach in Delaware. You show up and you show that you care. Do they care? I'll leave that to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.